All right, so today we're diving deep into something that I think is really, really cool, and that's prompt engineering for coders.
Yeah.
If you've ever wished you had like a super powered coding buddy to help you level up, this is about as close as it gets. We're talking about like actually talking to AI, specifically large language models,
Yeah.
to get them to do some pretty amazing coding stuff for you.
Yeah, it's kind of like learning a secret language almost
Yeah.
that kind of unlocks all these possibilities. And the Algo Academy blog that we're looking at today breaks it down really well.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see how you can use this for everything from accelerating your learning, boosting your productivity, to getting help with like really hard problem solving,
Yeah.
and even crushing those tough tech interviews.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, whether you're a seasoned coder or you're just starting out, think about this. What if you could have an AI tutor that could explain complex concepts in a way that just clicks for you? Algo Academy talks about how you could literally say to the AI, explain dependency injection in Java like I'm a junior developer.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Imagine getting a perfectly tailored explanation. That just makes
Yeah.
sense at your level.
Totally.
Really awesome.
It is. And the blog gives this great example of how specific you can be with your prompts, too. It's not just about saying, like, write some code or something like that. You can tell the AI exactly what you need, just like you would, with a human coder. They use this example of asking for a Python function to sum all the even numbers in a list. You can actually say, like, use list comprehension for efficiency. So you're really
Oh,
getting specific there.
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's like having a coding assistant that speaks your language.
Yeah, and speaking of getting things done faster, I love how Algo Academy really highlights the productivity boost that prompt engineering can offer. I mean,
Yeah.
we all know the pain of writing repetitive, boilerplate code. Imagine just telling the AI to handle that for you.
Right.
And then you can free up all your time and energy to focus on those more, creative and challenging parts of
Mhm.
coding.
It's like having an intern that never sleeps, right?
That's right.
But, the real magic happens when you start using prompt engineering for problem solving. Think about all those times that you've been stuck on a bug and you just can't figure it out. Algo Academy talks about how you can actually just feed your code to the AI and be like, hey, analyze this. Can you find any potential issues or inefficiencies or maybe even suggest improvements? It's like having a super powered debugger on your team.
Now, that's what I'm talking about. And you know what else is a huge pain point for a lot of coders?
What's that?
Interview prep.
Oh, for sure.
Algo Academy suggests using prompt engineering to actually generate practice problems, like on demand. You can even get grilled in mock interviews with, like an AI interviewer, and then even get your code reviewed and critiqued. I mean, who wouldn't want a personal interview coach available 24/7?
It's like having a secret weapon going into those interviews. And the best part is, you don't even need to be a coding ninja to get started with this stuff. The Algo Academy blog, they actually recommend starting simple. Just choose a platform like ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot, and then just start experimenting with basic prompts. It's all about getting a feel for how the AI responds and learning to communicate what you need effectively.
Yeah, I love that approach. Don't overthink it. Just kind of dive in and start playing around.
Yeah.
And as you get more comfortable, Algo Academy does have some really cool advanced techniques
Yep.
that we are going to explore. But first, I think it makes sense to take a closer look at some of those fundamental techniques that I think every coder should master. And the first one they highlight is specificity.
Right. And we touched on this a little bit earlier with the Python example, but it's worth emphasizing. Imagine you're talking to a human coder. You wouldn't just say, like, hey, write me some code, right?
Yeah.
You'd give them specifics like, what language, what framework, are there any constraints, what's the desired outcome that you're looking for? And it's the same with AI. The more specific you are with your prompt, the better the AI can understand what you're trying to do
Yeah.
and deliver what you need.
It's like ordering a coffee. You wouldn't just say coffee, right?
Right.
You'd say like grande iced latte, oat milk, 2 pumps of vanilla.
Exactly.
Details matter.
Yeah, the details matter.
And with prompt engineering, those details are like crucial.
For sure. So let's say, for example, you want to grasp a concept like dependency injection in Java, which can be kind of tricky. You could actually tell the AI, like act as a senior developer and explain dependency injection in Java, like you're explaining it to a junior developer. So you're using that role-playing technique
Wow.
to get the AI to kind of adopt a specific tone and approach that will make the explanation clear and relevant for you.
That's brilliant. It's like having access to like a whole team of coding experts
Right.
all within this AI. Now, what about those times where you're faced with like a really big complex coding problem that feels kind of overwhelming to even think about?
Yeah.
Algo Academy suggests breaking down those challenges
Yeah.
into smaller, more manageable steps, kind of like using a divide and conquer strategy
Yeah.
for prompt engineering.
Makes sense.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach because let's say, for example, you're trying to implement a complex algorithm, right? Instead of asking the AI to do the whole thing at once, break it down into smaller, more logical steps, and then feed those steps to the AI one by one, just like you would in a real coding project. That makes it a lot easier for the AI to understand what you're looking for and give you the right output for each step.
Make total sense. And speaking of output, I think it's important to remember that the goal isn't just to get the code from the AI, right? It's also to understand the code.
Yeah.
Algo Academy really stresses the importance of asking the AI to actually include comments
Mm.
that explain the why behind the code, not just the what.
Yeah, it's like having the AI be not just a coder, but a teacher. It's like walking you through the logic,
Hmm.
and the reasoning behind its decisions, which I think
Yeah.
is really important for learning and becoming a better coder yourself.
Yeah, you're not just blindly accepting this code.
Right.
You're actually engaging with it.
Yeah,
And you're
exactly.
deepening your understanding.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so, I mean, these basic techniques are already incredibly helpful. I can already see how much power and potential they hold for, like, any coder. But I have a feeling we're just scratching the surface here. What about, like, those more advanced prompt engineering tricks, the stuff that really unlocks, like, the full potential of AI?
Yeah, you're right. Now that we have a handle on the basics, let's unlock that next level. I'm excited for this.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first advanced technique that Algo Academy talks about is called chain of thought prompting. And this one is really cool because it's almost like you're peeking into the AI's brain and you get to see its thought process as it's solving the problem.
Oh, that sounds really fascinating. So instead of just getting the final code, we're basically asking the AI to show its work,
Exactly.
step by step. Explain the reasoning along the way.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine, for example, you're working on that classic coding interview problem, like finding the longest palindromic substring within a string, right?
Right.
So instead of just asking for the solution, you could prompt the AI with something like, find the longest palindromic substring in bananas. Think aloud, explaining the steps you take and why you chose that approach.
So the AI might start by explaining, like, different approaches, like brute force versus dynamic programming, outline the pros and cons of each, and then walk me through its chosen solution, maybe even highlight some optimizations along the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having this master coder right there explaining their strategies, which I think is so valuable for learning and improving your own problem-solving skills.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that's mind-blowing. So what's the next trick up our sleeve?
All right, this one is called few-shot learning, and it's based on this idea that you can actually teach the AI by providing a few input-output examples, and then it'll learn to generalize from those examples.
Okay, so it's almost like we're showing the AI a few, like solve problems,
Yeah.
and then asking it to solve a similar one based on what it's learned.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So let's say you're working on a project and you need to generate unit tests that match, the style and structure of your existing tests. You could give the AI a few examples of your, well-written tests, and it'll learn to generate new ones that follow that same pattern.
Wow, that could save so much time and effort. No more struggling to write all those tedious unit tests from scratch. I can see how this technique would be powerful for any task that requires, like a specific format or a coding style.
Right.
So what other advanced techniques does Algo Academy cover?
Well, the next one is all about refining and perfecting your code, and it's called iterative refinement. So the idea here is that you don't just settle for that first draft of code that the AI generates. You keep pushing it to improve, to optimize, to refactor, just like you would in a real coding collaboration.
So it's like having this coding partner that can, like, constantly help you improve and polish your code, even suggesting optimizations and refactoring techniques that you might not have considered.
Exactly. Let's say, for example, you ask the AI to write a recursive function to calculate the nth Fibonacci number, right?
Okay.
So you could then prompt it to optimize the function using memoization, and then maybe refactor it to use an iterative approach. And then finally, maybe even implement it using a generator. So you're constantly improving.
That's amazing. It's like having an on-demand code optimization expert that never gets tired of tweaking and refining the code.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Okay, so what's the final advanced technique that we should have in our prompt engineering arsenal?
All right, this last one is really useful for debugging, and it's particularly helpful, as you mentioned earlier, for interview prep. It's called error analysis and debugging. So you can actually feed the AI a piece of code and then ask it to analyze it for potential bugs, inefficiencies, or areas for improvement.
So it's like having this kind of like AI code reviewer
Uh,
that can spot those like sneaky errors
yeah.
that we as humans sometimes miss, especially, when we're under pressure, like in a technical interview situation.
Exactly. You could even compare your solution to a coding challenge
Yeah,
with the AI solution, understand the differences in approach, and really learn from its insights. It's a really great way to sharpen your debugging skills and develop that more critical eye for code quality.
for sure. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from basic to advanced prompt engineering techniques. It's clear that this is like a powerful skill set for, any coder to have. But with all this AI assistance, is there a risk that we become like too reliant on it?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Could we actually forget how to code ourselves?
I mean, it's definitely something to be mindful of. And Algo Academy actually emphasizes that AI should be seen as a tool to enhance our coding skills, not replace them.
Right. So it's like using a calculator. It can help us with those like complex calculations, but
Mm.
we still need to understand
Right.
underlying mathematical concepts.
Yeah.
AI can definitely help us code more efficiently,
Yeah.
but we still need to maintain our ability to think critically, solve problems, and write code ourselves.
Right. We don't want to just become completely dependent on the AI. We want to be in control, use it to enhance our abilities.
Makes sense. So speaking of control, how can we make sure that we're using, these powerful AI tools ethically and responsibly?
That's another great question. Algo Academy really highlights the importance of ethical AI usage. So, for example, if we're using AI-generated code in our projects,
Mhm.
we need to be really mindful of licensing requirements
Yeah.
and give proper attribution where it's necessary.
Right. So it's just like using any third-party code or library.
Mhm.
We need to respect intellectual property rights, make sure we're not violating any terms of use. We need to be transparent about how we're using AI
Yeah.
and ensure that we're not trying to pass off like AI-generated code as our own original work.
Exactly. Yeah. Transparency is key. It builds trust and it makes sure that everyone understands the role of AI in the development process.
Right. So we've covered kind of the what, the why, and the how of prompt engineering. We talked about the importance of like balanced practice and ethical AI usage.
Mhm.
What other like gems of wisdom does the Algo Academy blog offer for, aspiring prompt engineers?
Yeah, they have some really great practical advice for making the most of prompt engineering in your, everyday coding life.
Okay, great.
So would you like to hear more?
Absolutely. What are those like golden nuggets?
Okay, so the first one is all about building a prompt library. So as you experiment and you find prompts that work really well for certain tasks, save them, create your own collection of go-to prompts for common coding challenges, code generation, or even interview prep.
Oh, that's such a great idea. It's like building a toolbox, but instead of code snippets, it's for prompts. I love that. What else is on the list?
This one's pretty straightforward, but it's essential. Practice makes perfect. The more you play around with prompt engineering, the better you'll understand how to communicate effectively with the AI.
Right. Just like with anything, right? Like
Right.
learning a new programming language or a new framework. The more we code, the more fluent we become.
Exactly.
All right. So what's the final piece of advice from Algo Academy?
Well, they encourage us to share and learn with other developers because prompt engineering is still a relatively new field. And there's a lot of collective knowledge to be gained by connecting with other coders who are exploring this space.
Right. So it's about like fostering that community of practice,
Yeah.
sharing those tips, tricks, and those awesome prompts that we've all discovered.
Exactly. Online forums, social media groups, even just casual conversations with other coders. These are all great ways to, learn from each other, stay up to date, and really push the boundaries of what's possible with prompt engineering.
Yeah, I love that collaborative spirit.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. What do you think? Where do we go from here? What's next for prompt engineering and its role in the future of software development?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? What is next for prompt engineering? It feels like we're just at the beginning of something really big here.
I know, it does feel that way. It's so exciting because prompt engineering, it's still so new. And the potential seems limitless. As AI models continue to evolve and they get even more sophisticated, our ability to communicate with them effectively
Mhm.
is going to be even more crucial.
Yeah, it's like we're learning a new language,
Yeah.
but the dictionary is like constantly expanding, right?
Exactly.
We need to keep learning and adapting and keep pushing those boundaries.
Yeah, I love that analogy. And as we do that, we're inevitably going to face some new challenges. For example, as AI-generated code becomes more and more common, how do we ensure the quality and the reliability and the security
Yeah,
of that code?
that's a great point. We can't just blindly trust the code that AI generates. We need to apply the same rigorous testing
Right.
and validation processes that we would use for any code,
Sure.
regardless of where it came from.
Exactly. And there are some even broader questions too, right? As AI becomes more integrated into, the whole software development process, what happens to the role of the human coder?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's something I think a lot of people are kind of wondering about. But I think,
Yeah.
based on what we've talked about today, it seems like AI is more likely to like augment human capabilities
Yeah.
rather than completely replace them.
I agree. It's about finding that balance, right? AI can free us up from all those like tedious and repetitive tasks. Give us more time to focus on those things that humans are really good at, like creativity, problem solving, innovation.
It's like we can form like the ultimate coding partnership.
Yeah.
Human ingenuity combined with AI's power and efficiency.
Exactly. And it'll be really interesting to see how that partnership evolves over the next few years. How will prompt engineering shape the future of software development? What new possibilities will emerge as we, learn to speak the language of AI even more fluently? These are some really exciting questions.
Absolutely. I think that's a great place to kind of wrap up our deep dive into prompt engineering for coders.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're feeling as inspired as I am by all of the possibilities this technology offers. Remember, this is not just like some passing trend. This is a skill set that I think can truly like transform the way you code.
I agree. And it's a journey of continuous learning. So keep experimenting with those new prompts, share your discoveries, and most importantly, just never stop coding.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thanks for joining us today on this deep dive into the world of prompt engineering. Now it's your turn. What are some of the interesting prompts you've discovered? What challenges have you encountered? We'd love to hear all about your experiences. Head over to our social media channels or forum and share your thoughts.
Yeah, the future of coding is collaborative. And with AI as our partner, who knows what amazing things we can create? Keep prompting, keep learning, and keep coding.